Hello and welcome to the 5th edition of the Goa Arts and Literary Festival 2014. I have Rajdeep Sardesai here with me, and he's launching his book, The Election That Changed India. So, sir, what would you have to say about your book?
My book 2014, The Election That Changed India, for me it's my first major book. And after 26 years in journalism, I thought it was time to write. It's easy to do a television program comparatively. Also, people, today you do the program, tomorrow it's forgotten. A book, hopefully 10 years from now, somewhere in some bookstore, someone will see it. So I think for me, it was an important part to write something that I felt strongly about an election that I had covered extensively. And so it's a special occasion for me.
And you've had a lot of experience earlier in the starting years of your career. You've done a lot of work in print media and then moved on to electronics. So is this a way of saying that you're missing your old...
That's a good question. In a way, yes. I've always continued to write. I write a column and I've written it for more than 20 years now. But yes, you're right that maybe after 20 years of television, I thought it was time to go back to what I started off doing, which was writing. And for me, journalism was always originally writing. Television happened. And I think deep down inside, the joy that you get with a byline and your name, when I see somebody buying my book, I get even greater joy than someone coming and saying that, I saw you on television. Because on television, you see hundreds of people. But when you buy a book, that means you're actually investing in the person who's written it and have some faith in that person. So I must say it's been from my point of view, you could say what you said, I think is right. It's a way of coming home in a way.
And going back, coming to the book, you've written about the 2014 elections. Now, this is since 1989, no one's got a clear mandate, no government has got it. So, do you think this is the end of coalition governments?
I don't think in India you can say it's end of anything ever. 5 years ago, people told me BJP is finished. Look at today. Today, people say Congress is finished. Who knows what people will say 5-10 years from now? Nothing is permanent in India. But yes, I think people are looking for decisive mandates. People are looking for leaders who are seen to be decisive. In 2014, I think that made a difference. People wanted a strong leader. People wanted a single party government. 5 years, 10 years from now, we don't know how things will change.
So it's like the Indian beliefs, rebirth of everything. Nothing dies.
That's right. India is what I call a 50-50 country. In India, the glass is half full, it is half empty. Everything that you say which is true about India, the equal and opposite is also true. So we are a... मैं कहता हूँ हम लोग अद्भुत देश है. There is no country like India. Nowhere else in the world do so many things, crazy things happen like they do in India.
No, but would you like to share any part of the elections which you think they highlight in the book a lot? Maybe let's say a particular constituency or some regional party leader that you've interviewed or something like that.
One of the things that I highlight in the book is the Varanasi constituency, Banaras, because Narendra Modi was the candidate from there. And Varanasi for those few days was converted from this temple town into a Mahabharat. It was wherever you went, you saw the BJP flags around. I don't think any election in any constituency that much of effort has been put in to completely dominate the space. Also, you had Arvind Kejriwal there, which was an interesting sidelight. So covering the Varanasi elections, which I document in some detail in the book, was one of the more interesting parts of this particular election. I remember Narendra Modi's nomination being filed. I never thought that anyone would spend so much of money and so much of time and energy on a nomination process, but it was like he was going on a cavalcade, trucks and thousands of people following him. It was quite, it was quite an impressive event, if you ask me.
And it's been synonymous. Journalism and politics have always been hand in hand. If there's a political, any kind of a press conference or something going on, journalists are there. And I think it's one of the very key components in any newspaper or TV channels. So what do you think? Is it right to only say that politics is journalism right now?
I hope that the stage is never reached where only politics is journalism. In fact, I believe that we don't have enough of journalism on health, on education, environment. These are also all political issues. We focus too much on leaders. What is Modi doing? What is Rahul doing? And maybe even my book is partly that, because that's what I've done. But I hope your generation will do better journalism than our generation did. Our generation is still caught up in these leaders. Your generation must now look at new issues, particularly if you're in Goa. Environment, for example, is a big issue and it's a political issue. I would like to see some really outstanding environmental journalism done in Goa.
And you said you're missing your old medium back of going back to print. Any plans of doing that now?
I now see myself as a multi-platform content provider. So I still write. I now have my own blog site where I write as often as I possibly can. Will I do print full time? I don't think so. Will I do TV full time? I don't think so. I think the future is you have got to do a bit of TV, bit of print, bit of digital. I'm learning all the time about digital. Your generation is the digital generation. So I'm learning. I'm an old man now. So I sit back and learn and try and find new things to do. But basically, I'm a communicator. So once you're a communicator, you can communicate on TV, you can communicate on print, you can communicate through digital. I see myself as a multi-platform content provider.
You know, we have always heard about print and electronic media taking control and print media dying for a long time. But in all this, you find this one medium which is being ignored, that is radio. So what do you have to say about that?
I forgot about it completely. I just hope that news comes on radio. I would love to do a once a week news show on radio. I'd love it. I'm a great film music buff. So I'm happy to mix news and music. If someone gives me a show 1 hour, news karo, music bhi karo uske saath. I'll love it. I'm happy to do it. So if there's someone out there who wants that done, I'll happily do it.
I think that was the real mass medium of the earlier days.
It was, and unfortunately, both news and to some extent TV in its earlier avatar were controlled by the state. So they didn't allow private news to emerge. TV is now allowed it. I think radio will be the next, in a sense, revolution. If we can have community radios which distribute news, I'd like to see more of that happening.
And but still, I mean, there are like many people who are saying that TVs and like electronic medias or print medias, they're still not independent enough, and there's still a lot of powers that are handling their operations. So what would you like to say about that?
Nothing is fully independent. Nobody lives in a world of total freedom. Yes, there are more constraints perhaps at times now than there were in the past, but we're still relatively free. You can, out of 10 issues, on 9 issues, no one is going to sort of argue with what you put out. We are still a relatively free media. My bigger problem is that ownership is under question, how channels are owned, who controls them, and through ownership, who controls the editors. So I think there are worrying signs, but we still are a relatively free media.
So earlier there was a comment made during a conference I just heard that India, being a developing country, is focused too much in being urbanized and reaching those as the developed countries already are, and they have therefore ignored a lot that we already have as nature and keeping a focus on roads and buildings. So what do you have to say about that?
These are all tough battles in a country like India. You need roads. You also need to protect the environment. You need to achieve a balance. To say that you can't have roads are anti-development, that's not true. Roads are part of the development process. Somewhere we'll have to manage the fact that while we construct roads, you may cut through a forest area. How do you achieve the balance is the challenge for India as a country. Sustainable development is really the model that we need to find in the years ahead.
Do you think there's something like that?
Of course there is. Of course you can. I'm sure you can have sustainable development in India. You have to be committed to it. The problem is that the commitment in this country to sort of consciously sort of looking at sustainable development is questionable.
And about your book 2014, the elections that changed India, do you think they have actually changed India?
I don't think it has. Actually, that title has been given by my publisher because they thought it's an attractive title. It's a bit of marketing like Narendra Modi does. Narendra Modi is very good at marketing. My publishers also have marketed the book well. India will take time to change. India has the potential to change. Younger India is impatient for change. There are some signs that maybe India will change rapidly in the next 10-20 years. There are some signs that the way elections are fought will change now. I don't think that you will now have much more use of media power, of technology, WhatsApp, mobiles. People are communicating new ways to reach out to the voter. So I think the way elections are fought has already changed. Whether India will change, we don't know.
Okay, on that note, I think I'll thank you for your time. And you were here at the 5th edition of the Goa Arts and Literary Festival 2014. Thank you.